Real people, real breakthroughs. This is the Psychology of Eating podcast, where psychology and nutrition meet to uncover the true causes of our unwanted eating concerns. Your relationship with food will never be the same. Now, here's your host, eating psychology expert, and founder of the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, Marc David.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Marc David, founder of the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, and here we are in the Psychology of Eating podcast. And I'm here today with Dawn. Welcome, Dawn.
Thank you, Mark, and pleasure to be here.
Yay. And this is a follow-up session from, 9 months ago, maybe? It's been a long time.
I think it's been about 7.5.
Okay, it's still long.
Yeah.
So the purpose of this conversation is to just fill us all in on, what happened since the session. And maybe you can start by just, giving us a recap of what you had wanted to work on and if the time was useful for you.
Okay. Back when we first talked, I was struggling with binge eating and with overeating. Mm-hmm. I was kind of yo-yoing back and forth between dieting and just getting out of control. And so that was the focus of our session. Some of the discussion, it was very useful. The takeaways were that I needed to learn to trust myself more, that I needed to get away from the dieting, trust myself, use the binge eating as a tool, and that would help me find a more peaceful relationship with food. Mm-hmm. And I remember one of the things you said it wasn't going to be easy and that it was going to take a commitment. And that is so true. So in the time that has elapsed, I would say I made a couple attempts at really not weighing myself anymore, not weighing or measuring my foods. And it was almost like I felt like I was kind of going off an addiction and then relapsing. Mm-hmm. Like putting the scale away. The first time I did, I told my husband, I said, this is what's been recommended. We're going to put the scale away. And he's like, fine, that's great. So I took the scale and I put it in my linen closet in the bathroom. And I think I lasted about a week or so. And then I started sneaking it out and weighing myself and putting it back in. And so when I realized, that this was happening, it was like, this is not what was intended. And so then I kind of went back into my old ways and did a little bit of back and forth there. Another thing that you recommended that I try with my binge eating was to go out and kind of set up a situation where I could give myself permission to binge eat slowly and enjoy it and do all that, and maybe even acknowledge with my husband that this is what I was going to do. I will tell you, I could not do that. Mm-hmm. I tried, I planned, I went to the store, and I was looking for the things to bring home that I could use for that, but there was just a part of me in my head that wouldn't let me do that kind of knew that it wouldn't, if I ate the food slowly, I wouldn't like it. Mm-hmm. And so I just couldn't bring it home, and I couldn't do it. In the meantime, I would say, there were a couple of things that happened in my life. I changed jobs, and that transition was a little bit stressful. But ultimately, I wasn't quite slipping back as badly as I was. I wasn't binging as much as before, but I was still unhappy with what was going on. I actually sought out help from an eating psychology coach, mm-hmm. and she really helped me trust myself, or come to the point where that she made me realize I would be better off trusting myself. So she got me to hide the scale, not right in the bathroom, but I wrapped it up in a towel and I put it up in a closet, like totally in the opposite end of the house. And then I haven't weighed myself for 2 months. I took a while. My head would be saying, "You don't know how much you weigh. Doesn't that feel weird?" Mm. And then I'd say to myself, you know what? It doesn't matter how much I weigh. It doesn't matter if I weigh this or 2 pounds more or 2 pounds less. I know how I feel in my clothes. And I know how I feel in my body. And that's all that really matters. The number doesn't matter. And so it took me a while to get to that point where I could say, you know, it doesn't really matter whether I weigh, you know, this plus or minus 2, plus or minus 5, plus or minus 10, as long as I feel good and feel good in my clothes, feel good in my body, then the number just has no power over me. Mm-hmm. So that for me is a huge, it felt like a huge emotional weight lifted. The other thing that she helped me do, which is kind of what you recommended, is to really trust myself with those kinds of foods that I was viewing as bad foods, trigger foods, those kinds of things. And so she coached me into going out and having cupcakes is one of my big ones. Going to a cupcake store and having a cupcake and sitting down in the cupcake store and actually eating it slowly in the presence of other people. And I know that sounds weird, but I never did that before. I would always take the cupcakes home and eat them by myself because I thought, you know, I shouldn't be eating cupcakes. Well, why shouldn't I be eating cupcakes? They're cupcakes. They're delicious. Mm-hmm. So I started doing that. And what was interesting through that experience, in the beginning, it was like I just kept wanting to go and sample the experience over and over again. So I would go to one cupcake store and I'd sit down and I would slowly and, you know, wonderfully enjoy my cupcake. And then a few days later, I'd go to another one and do the same thing. And I did that a few times, and it got to the point where I didn't really want the cupcakes anymore. It's like now that I knew that I could trust myself with them, and then I could enjoy that experience, the drive. I not that I don't want them anymore, but the drive to have them kind of dissipated. And so I've experienced that with other foods that used to be a challenge for me, that I used to, you know, the eat in secret, those kinds of things, where just by slowly doing that, I find, you know what, they don't make me feel good. So I think for me that's huge.
Well, I want to say congratulations. It does sound huge.
And my husband's very happy. He thinks I'm a happier person.
You know, that's usually one of the best barometers for how a person is doing. Really, you ask their significant other.
Oh, I didn't ask him. He just said.
Yeah.
He just said it.
Yeah. You know, it's so true, I think, that when we start to trust ourselves, things fall into place. Mm-hmm. We get into this weird, strange belief that this food holds all this power over us. And yeah, okay, fine. Certain foods can be addicting to us, but there's a place that we go to inside where we can get so caught up in feeling powerless. And we can get so caught up like, oh my God, I'm this tiny little thing compared to this huge cupcake which controls my life, and therefore I will eat it in secret. And therefore I will crave it and desire it and want it all the time, but nobody's going to know. I'm going to live with this intense secret. And it's a wonderful little drama that keeps us, I think, in a small world. Mm-hmm. We don't really step outside of ourselves as much as we could when we're habituated to the scale and habituated to our little kind of food affairs. It's almost like, it's almost like having a secret affair. Mm-hmm. Except it's with a cupcake or a donut or food or whatever it is,
Yeah. Yeah, another thing that I experienced is I feel like I've been kind of on this exploration of learning about myself and how to trust myself. And so, trying to use the idea of giving myself permission to eat whatever food I want. as long as I do so in a fashion that allows me to enjoy it, to actually taste it, to be with it, to experience it. So I've found myself when we go out to restaurants, I could still hear the voices in my head saying, "Oh, you should order this because it's, quote, the healthier choice," or whatever. And so there was a time when I was going out and I would, something on the menu would strike me. I'd think, am I gravitating towards this because of the part of me that thinks, it's the healthiest choice, it's the lowest calories, it's whatever it is? Or is this something that I really want? Mm-hmm. So it has taken me some time to realize that what I really want tends to be, most of the time, what one would consider the healthier choice. Mm-hmm. Just because that's what makes me feel better. I went out and ordered lasagna for the first time in a restaurant in years. And it wasn't very good. So I didn't eat it. But, I just to give me permission to make that choice was something that I wouldn't have done before.
Yeah. The mind gets grabbed by these strange symbolic games that we enact. And food is always like this playground. And we play out so much of our psychology, so much of our personality, so much of our inner world gets played out with food, and it's really not about the food. Mm-hmm. So when you and I met, you had really a long time where you had been trying to lose a bunch of weight. Mm-hmm. And so you spent a long time in your life not trusting your own body and not feeling like your body was safe. Mm-hmm. Because it's not the right one. I have to get rid of this thing. Yeah. And then when you finally lost it, you still, at some point, reverted back into, oh my God, I can't trust. I got to binge eat, but I can't eat this, but I can't eat that, and I have to do it in secret. And if we look at it as just learning how to be the best version of me, food is just teaching us. Mm-hmm. Our relationship with food is just teaching us, don't make it about food, make it about the relationship. And see, okay, so now what do I need to learn? Oh my goodness, I have a hard time not weighing myself. Yeah. I gotta see that little number because it's gonna tell me a lot. I mean, it sounds crazy.
It does. I never realized how ingrained that was in me. I just thought, that I didn't think the number affected me that much. Mm-hmm. But the thought of not knowing how much I weighed for some time was, there's a period of a few weeks there that it was kind of disturbing.
Yeah.
Which in and of itself is disturbing.
Yeah, because we do literally get addicted to a certain state, to a certain mental, emotional state and pattern. We get these grooves. We get this place where we get locked in because if I know that number now, and there's a chemistry that happens in the brain, and it's usually a combination of stress and excitement. And if the number's good, then it's more excitement. If the number's bad, it's more anxiety and stress. And that chemistry kind of in a strange way feeds us because it kind of pushes us or it motivates us. And there's another way. Like there's other kinds of brain states called pleasure, called trust, called self-respect, called letting go, that until we try those out, we don't know what they feel like. And when I said to you in our first session, this is going to take a while, for me, I saw, like, just because of just dealing with so many clients over the years, I kind of saw where you were at, and I saw, wow, you're going to be on a journey here. And the journey is still happening for you.
Oh, definitely. Definitely still happening.
Yeah, and it's all about liberating yourself. That's all it is. It's all about you liberating yourself from the internal nonsense that has us believing that a number on a scale or the food we eat has this huge importance. Now, it's okay, so the food we eat does have a huge importance. Great, good food equals good health for most people. Okay, And there it is. And, occasionally you have a food that's not the perfect food. You'll probably live because you've made it this far. I can't believe.
Oh, I've eaten a lot of imperfect foods.
Right? I mean, the first 15 years of my life, I was raised on virtually nothing real, and I've survived. So,
SpaghettiOs.
Right? So there's a place where we are learning to deprogram ourselves. Mm-hmm. It's really like a self-deprogramming.
And I do want to mention it. I think in my case, having the support of another coach as I was working through the process, and I am still working through the process, for me, that was really important because I know that as I'm learning to trust myself, I have gained weight. I haven't been on the scale, but I know that my clothes got tighter. And, the coach stepped in and just reminded me of what the end, not even the end, but what ultimate, the larger goal is, and kept me from falling back into, kind of a little mini freak out of, oh no, I'm gaining weight. So I'm in a place now where I know, I know I weigh more than when I first talked to you, but I'm okay with that because I'm much happier. And I think I'm kind of over the hump in the sense where I think now I'm at the place where I can just eat, naturally eat eat the foods that my body wants more often than not, and that the weight will adjust itself in time.
Yeah. Beautiful. I really want to underscore what you just said. And, for viewers and listeners, for all of us, this is probably the hugest fear that people have when they begin the work to unpack their relationship with food and body and to see the places where we are in sanity. The last thing we want in that process is to gain weight. Mm-hmm. Now, here you just shared with me that after 7.5 months since we first spoke, you said, I know I weigh more, but I'm happier. Mm-hmm. Now, I know there's a lot of people listening who go, that ain't me. I would not be happier. And the point is, no, most people, if anybody's listening and thinking to themselves, no, I wouldn't be happier if I gain weight, you're right. It's really about becoming happier first.
Yeah.
And then you watch what happens, because it takes time for mind and emotions and body to find its new place and to find its new happy medium, because sometimes we spend a lifetime in our stress chemistry, in really skewing our metabolism in strange ways with dieting, with exercising, with fear and self-loathing around how much I weigh. That creates a chemistry, that creates a physiology. But what I want to say is that there's a certain amount of time that it takes for the body to balance out. But in that time, a lot of us need to learn a lesson. Mm-hmm. And I just observed this. I wish it wasn't true, but a lot of people need to learn a lesson. And the lesson is called, something, if I weigh 5 pounds more, I'm still okay. I'm still lovable. It's a bunch of nonsense to go elsewhere, because our weight fluctuates no matter what. Mm-hmm. No matter what, your weight is going to fluctuate by at least 2 or 3 pounds. The average person. If you weigh anywhere between 140 and 160, you're going to fluctuate by about 3 pounds throughout the year. Some people more, some people less. Wintertime, summertime, that sort of thing. But if you could learn the lesson that I could love myself no matter what, then the happiness part sets in, and then the self-confidence sets in, and then the trust sets in. And then all of a sudden, the body can find its rightful place, because we are finding our rightful place. Mm-hmm. The body can't be its best self and its truest expression until we are our best self and our truest expression. That's kind of how I see it. So I think you're on the right track in a big way.
Yeah. Me too. I'm so happy to be on this journey.
Yeah. Any final thoughts you'd like to share?
Just to keep in mind, like I said before, keep in mind the bigger picture that the number on the scale shouldn't control you. It shouldn't scare you. It's really how you live your life, how you put your best self forward.
Well, Dawn, thank you. Thank you for being so open and honest and for really sharing your journey, your process, your story. So important that we could listen to each other and see, wow, this is what's really happening. This is what's going on for us. And it's real. And at the same time, it's crazy. And when we can start to talk about it and unpeel it and really look at it and dissect it and break it down, we realize there's really nothing wrong with me, and we're on a journey and we're here to set ourselves free and be the best possible versions of who we are. And that's what you're doing. So once again, thank you and congratulations.
Oh, thank you, Mark.
Yeah. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Once again, I'm Marc David. On behalf of the Psychology of Eating podcast, as always, lots more to come, my friends. Thank you, Dawn. You take care.
Thank you, Mark.
I hope this was helpful. Thanks for listening to the Psychology of Eating podcast. To learn more about the breakthrough body of work we teach here at the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, please sign up for our free video series at ipe.tips. That's I for Institute, P for Psychology, E for Eating.tips, TIPS. You'll learn about the cutting-edge principles of dynamic eating psychology and mind-body nutrition that have helped millions of people forever transform their relationship with food, body, and health.